Well, for more on this, Adnan Rasool joins us now from the city of Martin in Tennessee. He's an assistant professor of political science at the University of Tennessee. Welcome to the program, Professor. Now, firstly, tell us more about this so-called Omnibus law that the Indonesian government really has rushed through Parliament. Why does the government say it's so important, and do you believe that it'll work?
Thank you for having me. This bill essentially went through Parliament. It was kind of jammed through Parliament with the sole purpose of creating a more hospitable environment for investors. The idea that the Joko Widodo government is convinced of is we can get a lot of businesses to move their supply chains from China over to Indonesia. And in that process, what they've passed is a clean sweep of worker restrictions, something a lot of people would call a bill that kills off the unions and their influence, as well as easing out environmental restrictions, which would have protected the large amounts of rainforest that Indonesia has. And that's kind of become this perfect storm from the labor unions as well as the environmentalist lobby, which is looking at the government and wondering what exactly are they trying to do, given the limited amount of businesses that are willing to move abroad, in addition to the competition that they face from countries like Cambodia, countries like Vietnam. So it's a perfect storm that the government finds itself in, even though their intentions originally on paper were pretty solid.
And we know the Indonesian economy has been one of the region's strongest. It emerged from the financial crisis of the late 90s as really one of the region's better performing economies. But things have obviously changed because of the pandemic. So how badly does Indonesia need to attract foreign investment right now?
They're desperate. And one of the things that you pointed out was after the 1998 recession, Indonesia took this upward trajectory, which others wanted to follow. But the thing is, over the last 5 or 7 years, the growth rate in Indonesia has plateaued. It is no longer growing at 5-6%. Instead, Indonesia is staring at its first economic contraction since the 1998 economic crisis. So they're in a dire need right now. But what we also kind of forget is the competitiveness that countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, basically the ASEAN neighbors around Indonesia have gained over the last 15, 20 years. So the government is desperate. The government needs foreign money to come in. The government would love to have nothing more than more jobs being created. The question here is, at what cost? And that is what the protests are mostly about. What is the cost that the Indonesians and the Indonesian government is willing to pay in order to generate even 500,000 jobs over the next 5 years?
Yeah, let's look at that issue of the cost of these laws. So unions say that it strips workers' rights, such as the generous severance packages that are now awarded under previous Indonesian laws. Environmentalists say it strips protections from the environment as well. Are you concerned about exactly what the government has traded away here in favour of making it easier to attract foreign investment?
Yes, I'm concerned. So would anybody else studying economics in this region or environment in this region should be concerned about. But one of the nuances that we often do not pay enough attention to is that the unions had negotiated some of the most lavish and exuberant severance packages in the whole region. For instance, in Vietnam, if a person is let go, they're only supposed to get 25 weeks worth of their salary as severance. In Indonesia, that was 52. So it kind of goes back to the competitiveness that the government would love to gain again, given what is around them. When it comes to environment, they are making a bad trade with regards to giving up on environmental restrictions, making some of the most beautiful rainforests in the region, which are also one of the biggest tourist draws for Indonesia, given the tourism industry. They're jeopardizing all of that in favor of manufacturing that may not pan out for a host of different reasons, such as Indonesia lacks the kind of supply chain clusters that Vietnam and China have developed over the 15, 20 years. So yeah, the cost is really high, but that's the risk that the government of President Joko Widodo is willing to make.
Okay, Adnan Rasool from the University of Tennessee will have